Hello, Scrufftards and everyone else. Welcome to the War Zone. I'm Scruffy, and this is Scruffy Tales. And we're gonna take a look at the Belgorod incursion, what we know so far from the maps. But first, a really important message how you can help keep Ukrainian soldiers alive through a Swedish initiative. I'm not sure how well it works with the people in the EU and around the world, but people in Sweden, in the Nordics, uh, you should be able to contribute here. So that's where we're going to start off. Then we're going to take a look at the Belgorod incursion, and then at the end, we have some news about the old Swedish APC IFV armored vehicle, the PBV 302, and it is a success story on the battlefield in Kursk. Right, before we move on to the maps, I just want to highlight this for everyone watching. This is a Swedish pharmacy company, medical company called Apotea, and they allow you to, through charity, provide them with money. As it says here, 300 crowns. I think there are different versions, but that's roughly $30. And with all of this, they put together these frontline combat kits, medical kits, and they have so far delivered 750 of these bags. As you can see on the image to the left, these are not small bags, and they have received news from Ukraine, from the front line, that these med backpacks are saving lives. They're used by frontline combat medics in the trenches, and they are saving Ukrainian lives right on the front line. And this is so super crucial because a wounded Ukrainian soldier can be in the trench line for hours, even days on end, before he gets a medevac, before they can reach him with a vehicle that can pull him out due to the threat of the drones. So Ukrainian soldiers who are wounded, they're stuck in the trenches for days before they can be removed from the combat zone. And as you can imagine, in those situations, they need to be able to treat those soldiers right there in the mud, in the dirt, while mortars are hitting, while artillery is hitting, while machine guns are firing at them, while they're being assaulted by vehicles and troops. So without backpacks like these, it doesn't matter if you have 50 trucks waiting to come in, because when they do arrive, it's too late. So Ukraine needs stuff like this. This saves lives. This is nothing fancy. It is not high tech, but this saves lives. This is what keeps a soldier alive, so he can fight another day, so he can keep fighting there and then to protect himself and his comrades around him. So if you go to the link I will provide down below, you can provide Apotea with $30 or $50 or whatever it is, so they can put together these combat medic backpacks. And it's, as you can see, it's a large backpack, and it has everything they need to keep the soldiers alive on the front line. Hell, it even has a chocolate cookie, right? A chocolate bar. Tourniquet. A tourniquet. If you can set a tourniquet on an arm or a leg, within a couple of seconds, soldiers can survive for days, right? If they don't have a tourniquet, they will bleed out in 3 minutes. That alone, right, is worth it. They have, so they can stop the bleeding, they can, klämmor, pincers to secure wounds and what have you. Everything. They can measure the pulse and the oxygen level in the blood. This is real stuff. Heating blanket, duct tape, right? what do you call it, headlight and everything. I mean, it's everything they need to keep the soldiers alive, right? This here says drill for immediate application of medicine or fluids, whatever I need a drill for, but I guess maybe get through whatever, right? I mean, this is the real thing. 750 of them have so far been delivered to Ukraine, and these are saving lives, these backpacks. So please click the link, see what you can afford. And I mean, if you're in the Nordics, please help out with this. If you're from the EU or elsewhere, I don't know if you can help out with this, but if you go up to the right on top, right up here, you can see where you can this here says buy and whatever. So I mean, just take a look, see if you can do anything, and because this well and truly does save lives. And let's head on over to the maps then. Here we have Kursk, where Ukraine has been falling back. Russia is applying pressure, continuing to move into Basivka, continuing to moving down this way, heading for Lokhnia and Unakivka. And as we all know, this happened 2 days ago, and since then we've seen some updates here on Mayakovsk 73's map. On the 18th we had that Ukraine was down here. Now we're seeing indications on Mayakovsk's map that Ukraine has pushed up into Demidovka. If we move on over to the Ukraine control map, here you can see where we have some geolocated positions of Ukrainians this far north, just south of Demidovka. So clearly they've taken quite some ground. We are seeing a lot of images of destroyed and abandoned Bradleys, should be said, but we can see that Ukraine has at least pushed this far. Russian news outlets tell that this was a complete disaster and that they have thrown Ukraine out. At the same time, Mayakovsk 73 has moved Ukraine further into Demidovka than they were a couple of days ago. Still very, very early, not sure what's going on. But clearly something is ongoing here. And we'll just gonna have to wait and see. Interesting is if we take a look at Deep State, they have not updated anything. Remember how Syrski and Deep State had a bit of a conflict a couple of months back? That Deep State was providing too accurate intel to the world and by extension the Russians. Nothing from Deep State. So that tells us that Ukraine has something planned for Demidovka and the surrounding area, since Deep State is not reporting on it. So we'll see. Still early. Russians are claiming that it's a complete failure. We are seeing images of destroyed Ukrainian vehicles. At the same time, some of the mappers are showing that Ukraine has moved into Demidovka. This is Andrew Perpetua. He has not yet updated, so this map is a bit old, but here you can see how Ukraine lost a bunch of vehicles pushing into this area here, but like I said, Mayakovsk 73 has Demidovka as contested with Ukrainians moving around in this town here. And in my previous video we were talking about if Ukraine had a trap set for the Russians. Remember, they realized, obviously when they pushed into Russia, they realized in the end they could never hold. Russia would deploy as many troops needed to eventually force Ukraine out of Russia, which meant the danger of having a battle in Sumy Oblast. So Ukraine knew this before going into Kursk, and they have had 8 months to prepare defenses in Sumy, as the Russians would more than likely follow them. And we can also see how Ukraine is holding on to territory right here on the border. Obviously prepare defensive lines, even if Russia is slowly gaining ground every day. Nothing strange about it, but Ukraine has prepared a rear guard to protect as they're falling back. So they clearly have been prepared for this moment. They knew it was coming. And I speculated, well, they must have something in store for that point when they have left. Could this be it? Because, I mean, you just don't move in troops down here on a whim. Well, you could, but, I mean, this could actually be part of that move I was talking about. When we have left Kursk, then we move down and push through here at Demidovka. Because if you're going to push through Dragon Teeth and minefields and everything like that, you need to scout those positions ahead of time. You need special forces, rangers, Jaegers to sneak around the Dragon Teeth, find the minefields, establish how wide they are, how deep they are, where the enemy has bunkers, where they have trenches, where they are overlooking approach points with anti-tank guided missiles and all of that. So you must have spent days, if not weeks, scouting this region before moving in the troops. Preferably, I might add. They may have gone YOLO and just pushed in. That is also a possibility. But I think that they have spent a couple of days scouting this area, if not a couple of months. So that they were ready when we move in. We know where everything is down here. Send in the troops. That is no guarantee that this will work. I mean, no battle plan survives contact with the enemy, right? But we'll see what happens. But I'm thinking that this might actually be part of a grander strategy, as in when we do fall back, we apply pressure down here to force the Russians to move troops down here instead, fighting within Russia instead of fighting within Ukraine. Or it's just a small diversion made on the fly. That is also a possibility, obviously. Right, now, Belgorod, Kursk, and if we take a look what's going on here, this is where Russia has pushed into Sumy Oblast, and here we have the 36th Marine Brigade located according to Ukraine control map, right on the front line, fighting the Russians here around Basivka. And this is interesting because the 36th Marine Brigade are operating the Swedish PBV 302. And what is that? It is this old vehicle from the 60s, designed originally back in the 60s as an infantry fighting vehicle with a 20mm autocannon. Sweden tested the M113, was not impressed by it, so decided to make their own version, basically with better armor, which the Ukrainians have already reported on that it has better armor than the M113 and better off-road mobility, again, which we actually can see here. It has good maneuverability. That is not a debate. It is undisputed. So those were the main two criteria: excellent armor for an APC or IFV of the time, and excellent off-road capability, as in tactical maneuvering. And here we have it, an image of it within Kursk. You can see how they upgraded the front armor a bit, kind of like the old S-tank with the ribbed front armor, and then of course cope net and cope cage to protect it against drones. And the Ukrainians are pleased with it. Very much so. They call it the toy car. We can see one of the Marines say here. We don't know what the hell the correct name for it is. but they call it the toy car or the taxi or the cab. And like he says here, it has good maneuverability. That is without dispute. It is spacious. It can hold a full squad of soldiers, and they can load in and out, embark and disembark quickly. And it is comfortable. I don't know how comfortable a vehicle from the 60s, but it is. That's what they're saying. If you compare it to a BMP, I have no doubts that it is comfortable, and they are pleased with it. So far that I know of, we have 2 confirmed PBVs knocked out of 200, 300 after 2-3 months of combat. We can assume a couple of more have been damaged. But they're pleased with it. It's doing the job it was intended to do, allow soldiers to bring hellfire to the Russians in combat. And it's being used to support frontline troops, bringing in supplies and bringing out the wounded and rotating troops in and out of combat. And it is effective. It is truly effective. And it just goes to show that Swedish equipment, beyond any doubt, is some of the best military equipment in the world, and has been since World War II, basically. Quite incredible. And the Ukrainians are quite pleased with the PBV 302 so far. So that's it. We'll see what happens. Like I said, the Russian sources claim that this was a complete failure. May or may not be true. We'll have to wait and see. But Mayakovsk 73 has extended the area that is contested between the 18th and today on the 20th. We'll see what the maps say later today as they update. It could be that it failed, or that's just Russian propaganda and bullshit. We just don't know. But anyway, that's gonna have to be it. As always, go på marsch, Ukraine, and give them hell.